Sold to Satan by Mark Twain. It was at this time that I concluded to sell my soul to Satan. Steel was away down, so was St. Paul. It was the same with all the desirable stocks. In fact, and so, if I did not turn out to be away down myself, now was my time to raise a stake and make my fortune. Without further consideration, I sent word to the local agent, Mr. Blank, with description and present condition of the property, and an interview with Satan was promptly arranged, on a basis of 2.5%, this commission payable only in case a trade should be consummated. I sat in the dark, waiting and thinking. How still it was! Then came the deep voice of a far-off bell proclaiming midnight. Boom, boom, boom. And I rose to receive my guest, and braced myself for the thunder crash and the brimstone stench which should announce his arrival. But there was no crash, no stench. Through the closed door, and noiseless, came the modern Satan, just as we see him on the stage, tall, slender, graceful, in tights and trunks, a short cape mantling his shoulders, a rapier at his side, a single drooping feather in his jaunty cap, and on his intellectual face the well-known and high-bred Mephistophelian smile. But he was not a fire-coal. He was not red, no. On the contrary, he was a softly glowing, richly smoldering torch, column, statue of pallid light, faintly tinted with a spiritual green, and out from him a lunar splendor flowed such as one sees glinting from the crinkled waves of tropic seas when the moon rides high in cloudless skies. He made his customary stage obeisance, resting his left hand upon his sword hilt, and removing his cap with his right, and making that handsome sweep with it which we know so well. Then we sat down. Ah, he was an incandescent glory, a nebular dream, and so much improved by his change of color. He must have seen the admiration in my illuminated face, but he took no notice of it, being long ago used to it in faces of other Christians, with whom he had trade relations. A half-hour of hot toddy and weather chat, mixed with occasional tentative feelers on my part, and rejoinders of, "Well, I could hardly pay for that, you know," on his, had much modified my shyness, and put me so much at ease that I was emboldened to feed my curiosity a little. So, I chanced the remark that he was surprisingly different from the traditions, and I wished I knew what it was he was made of. He was not offended, but answered with frank simplicity. "Radium." "That accounts for it," I exclaimed. "It is the loveliest effulgence I have ever seen. The hard and heartless glare of the electric doesn't compare with it. I suppose your majesty weighs about... I stand 6'1", fleshed and blooded I would weigh 215, but radium, like other metals, is heavy. I weigh 900 odd. I gazed hungrily upon him, saying to myself, "What riches! What a mine! 900 pounds at, say, 3,500,000 a pound would be... Then a treacherous thought burst into my mind. He laughed a good hearty laugh and said, "I perceive your thought, and what a handsomely original idea it is, to kidnap Satan, and stock him, and incorporate him, and water the stock up to 10 billions, just 3 times its actual value, and blanket the world with it." My blush had turned the moonlight to a crimson mist, such as veils and spectralizes the domes and towers of Florence at sunset, and makes the spectator drunk with joy to see. And he pitied me, and dropped his tone of irony, and assumed a grave and reflective one, which had a pleasanter sound for me, and under its kindly influence my pains were presently healed, and I thanked him for his courtesy. Then he said, "One good turn deserves another, and I will pay you a compliment. Do you know I have been trading with your poor pathetic race for ages, and you are the first person who has ever been intelligent enough to divine the large commercial value of my make-up." I purred to myself and looked as modest as I could. "Yes, you are the first," he continued. "All through the Middle Ages I used to buy Christian souls at fancy rates, building bridges and cathedrals in a single night in return, and getting swindled out of my Christian nearly every time that I dealt with a priest, as history will concede, but making it up on the lay square dealer now and then, as I admit. But none of those people ever guessed where the real big money lay. You are the first." I refilled his glass and gave him another cavour, but he was experienced by this time. He inspected the cigar pensively a while, then, "What do you pay for these?" he asked. "2 cents, but they come cheaper when you take a barrel." He went on inspecting, also mumbling comments, apparently to himself. Black, rough-skinned, rumpled, irregular, wrinkled, barky, with crispy curled-up places on it, burnt leather aspect, like the shoes of the damned that sit in pairs before the room doors at home of a Sunday morning. He sighed at thought of his home, and was silent a moment. Then he said gently, "Tell me about this projectile." "It is the discovery of a great Italian statesman," I said. "Cavour, one day he lit his cigar, then laid it down, and went on writing and forgot it. It lay in a pool of ink and got soaked. By and by he noticed it and laid it on the stove to dry. When it was dry, he lit it, and at once noticed that it didn't taste the same as it did before. And so—" "Did he say what it tasted like before?" "No, I think not. But he called the government chemist and told him to find out the source of that new taste, and report. The chemist applied the tests, and reported that the source was the presence of sulfate of iron, touched up and spiritualized with vinegar, the combination out of which one makes ink. Cavour told him to introduce the brand in the interest of the finances, so, ever since then, this brand passes through the ink factory, with the great result that both the ink and the cigar suffer a sea change into something new and strange. This is history, sire, not a work of imagination." So then he took up his present again, and touched it to the forefinger of his other hand for an instant, which made it break into flame and fragrance. But he changed his mind at that point, and laid the torpedo down, saying courteously, "With permission, I will save it for Voltaire." I was greatly pleased and flattered to be connected in even this little way with that great man, and be mentioned to him, as no doubt would be the case. So I hastened to fetch a bundle of 50 for distribution among others of the renowned and lamented, Goethe, and Homer, and Socrates, and Confucius, and so on. But Satan said he had nothing against those. Then he dropped back into reminiscences of the old times once more, and presently said, "They knew nothing about radium, and it would have had no value for them if they had known about it. In 20 million years it has had no value for your race until a revolutionizing steam and machinery age was born, which was only a few years before you were born yourself. It was a stunning little century for sure, that 19th. But it's a poor thing compared to what the 20th is going to be." By request, he explained why he thought so. Because power was so costly then, and everything goes by power, the steamship, the locomotive, and everything else. Coal, you see, you have to have it. No steam and no electricity without it. And it's such a waste, for you burn it up and it's gone. But radium, that's another matter. With my 900 pounds, you could light the world, and heat it, and run all its ships and machines and railways 100 million years, and not use up 5 pounds of it in the whole time. And then— "Quick! My soul is yours, dear ancestor. Take it. We'll start a company." But he asked my age, which is 68, then politely sidetracked the proposition, probably not wishing to take advantage of himself. Then he went on talking admiringly of radium, and how with its own natural and inherent heat, it could go on melting its own weight of ice 24 times in 24 hours, and keep it up forever without losing bulk or weight, and how a pound of it, if exposed in this room, would blast the place like a breath from hell, and burn me to a crisp in 1/4 of a minute, and was going on like that, but I interrupted and said, "But you are here, Majesty, 900 pounds, and the temperature is balmy and pleasant. I don't understand." "Well," he said hesitatingly, "it is a secret, but I may as well reveal it, for those prying and impertinent chemists are going to find it out some time or other anyway. Perhaps you have read what Madame Curie says about radium, how she goes searching among its splendid secrets and seizes upon one after another of them and italicizes its speciality. How she says the compounds of radium are spontaneously luminous, require no coal in the production of light. You see how she says a glass vessel containing radium spontaneously charges itself with electricity, no coal or water power required to generate it, you see. How she says radium possesses the remarkable property of liberating heat spontaneously and continuously. No coal required to fire up on the world's machinery, you see. She ransacks the pitch blende for its radioactive substances, and captures 3 and labels them. 1, which is embodied with bismuth, she names polonium. 1, which is embodied with barium, she names radium. The name given to the third was actinium. Now listen, she says, the question now was to separate the polonium from the bismuth. This is a task that has occupied us for years, and has been a most difficult one. For years, you see. For years. That is their way, those plagues, those scientists. Peg, 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 dig, 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 plod, plod, plod. I wish I could catch a cargo of them for my place. It would be an economy. Yes, for years, you see. They never give up. Patience, hope, faith, perseverance. It is the way of all the breed. Columbus and the rest. In radium, this lady has added a new world to the planet's possessions, and matched Columbus and his peer. She has set herself the task of divorcing polonium and bismuth. When she succeeds, she will have done, what should you say? Pray name it, Majesty. It's another new world added, a gigantic one. I will explain, for you would never divine the size of it, and she herself does not suspect it. Do, Majesty, I beg of you. Polonium, freed from bismuth and made independent, is the one and only power that can control radium. Restrain its destructive forces, tame them, reduce them to obedience, and make them do useful and profitable work for your race. Examine my skin. What do you think of it? It is delicate, silky, transparent, thin as a gelatine film, exquisite, beautiful, Majesty. It is made of polonium. All the rest of me is radium. If I should strip off my skin, the world would vanish away in a flash of flame and a puff of smoke, and the remnants of the extinguished moon would sift down through space, a mere snow shower of gray ashes. I made no comment. I only trembled. You understand now, he continued. I burn. I suffer within. My pains are measureless and eternal, but my skin protects you and the globe from harm. Heat is power, energy, but it is only useful to man when he can control it and graduate its application to his needs. You cannot do that with radium now. It will not be prodigiously useful to you until polonium shall put the slave whip in your hand. I can release from my body the radium force in any measure I please, great or small. At my will I can set in motion the works of a lady's watch or destroy a world. You saw me light that unholy cigar with my finger? I remembered it.